Hey guys, VsCode has three very useful, menus, hovers, that you usually access by hovering with your mouse. Well, what if you don't want to? There are actually ways to do that. So first of all, we'll start with what I just popped in, parameter hints. When you start to type in arguments to a function, sometimes you will get a window that will show you the descriptions of those parameters. Well, there's actually a way to have a hotkey that pops that menu in and back. So let's go to see how I actually have it. Let's type in parameter hints, and here it is. So the command is editor.action.triggerParameterHints, and I'm going to leave that command name in the description. And essentially, every command that I mention here will be in the description. So to trigger parameter hints, I have Shift-K because I use NeoVim, and Shift-Space to have variety, I guess. But then I also want those to toggle. Unfortunately, there is no toggle parameter hints command, so we have to have two. And for them to work correctly, we have to have the correct when conditions. So for closeParameterHints, it should be editorFocus and parameterHintsVisible. So if the parameter hints are already there, then what you should be doing is close them. And yes, I will also be leaving the when conditions in the description as well. So expect a lot of random button pressing, which means I pause to type in the description. Nevertheless, and then we have to set the correct when condition for the trigger parameter hints thing, which is a lot. So let's actually just look at it. So editorSignatureHelpProvider, I guess that means that it can even give you those, but this is by default, so you won't have to change it. Same as this thing, I'm pretty sure. Now, this is pretty important. You only trigger those, trigger parameter hints, if they don't already exist. And then this is more like a me thing because of how I set up my hotkeys. So it might not necessarily be useful to you. So I'll remove it from the description because it doesn't necessarily apply, but it is useful. It means only do so if the suggestions are not there, and suggestions are this thing. So if I press Shift-Space now, it will instead show you the description of the thing that I currently have selected, but not gonna cover that in this video. Okay, so we went through parameter hints. Now, aside from that, we can also see this window, which, well, if we are on a function, or this case, a constructor, it will act as parameter hints. So right here as well, it gives you parameter hints if you're on the function. But yeah, you don't have to, because you can now have a hotkey to pop that parameter hints anywhere. But you can also use, I wonder what I can even show you that will give a hover without parameter hints. I guess, yeah. So this window that depends on the language gives you different things. So this is a different command called hover, and I have a lot of commands along with that. So the main command that you need is show or focus hover, and here you don't really need a when condition, because I personally don't toggle it. My hotkey just focuses it, and then I just press escape to remove it. So Let me also paste that in the description. And at the top of what we have searched is escape focus hover, which is escape. This should be by default, and as you can see by this place, it is, so you don't have to change any of that. However, there are a lot of other useful commands here that you see me remap that will let you actually move through that window. So let's go to a function that will have multiple lines in the hover. I won't bore you with getting actually to it. Okay, so the hotkey function has this scroll bar, and if you wanted to go down, you would probably have to use your mouse, right? Well, no, because if you use that command of show or focus hover twice, first to show it, second time to focus it, the current focus of VS Code is on this window. Oh, yeah, let's move it back. And now I can use my hotkeys that I set for it to move. So you can, by default, I think it's down to go down and up to go up, and then page up, page down, home, end, like everything that you expect. And now you can actually read all of this, which is very, very nice. And the way you set it is, first of all, remember the when condition of editorHoverFocused, and then you'll find every single command that you would need by just searching for hover, and everything that you see here, you'll see. And I have remaps because I have Vim mode, and using like end, home, page down, and so on is not really nice to me. Okay, so let's go to the final command. So here I have some C# code, and here's an error, unsurprisingly, because I'll be doing it differently. Nevertheless, this is an error, and I want to see what it's even about. Well, the command that we just were talking about, show focus hover, will also show you the error message at the top. And you can use it the same way to look at it and scroll through it and read it, so on. So that's great. Now, what if right now I want to do some action on this line? I don't know, like say fix this line somehow, or maybe something more real where, oh, instead of implicit type, use explicit type or something. You would think that you'd have to click this with the mouse, and you could, but you don't have to. You can actually pop this window via a hotkey, and then also close it via a hotkey. But closing it by default is just escape. Well, okay, let's look at it. For me, it's control space. But you can also search for it by typing in suggest, I guess. Suggest and then code action. So trigger suggest is the command that you need to actually, well, trigger the suggest. And now let's look at the when condition. So this is the same thing that we saw earlier here. Well, it's different, but pretty much the same idea. Only do this if you can, essentially, and only do this if you are inputting something, and then only do this if you can even type in text. So very obvious things, and this is part of the default declaration. But in case you like fuck it up somehow, I very much see myself doing that. You can use this to restore it, or just the built-in VS Code restore to default for every hotkey. And then this is my thing. Only work this, so only trigger the... Hold up, I was explaining the wrong thing this entire time. Suggest is actually the thing that you see here. This is the suggest. Well, I guess I might as well cover it then. So, yeah, this will trigger this suggestion only if it isn't already visible. And then this is for NeoVim folk who also use the NeoVim extension. Only do this in insert mode, because in normal mode is the thing that I'm actually going to get to. So for most people, this isn't a thing, so just remove it. Great, and then we have hideSuggestWidget, which is the opposite of that. So we trigger the suggest, and then once it's active, we can press the same hotkey to close it. Okay, and it works in a similar fashion as everything else that we made toggleable. hideSuggestWidget will automatically be the hotkey that works if it's visible. So if the suggest widget is not visible, then trigger it, but if it is, then close it. Pretty simple. Now, the command I was actually going to talk about is quickFix. So this window that we have, and I separate them depending on the NeoVim mode. If I am in insert mode, then Control Space will show this window to me. But if I'm in normal mode, this window instead will appear. To me, it just makes more sense in terms of modality. Usually I need this window when I go to some place and invoke it. And, well, naturally I want the suggestion window when I'm typing something in. So that makes a lot of sense to me. So quickFix, once again, command the description, and the when condition is pretty similar to what we've seen before. However, there is one important detail. If somehow the suggest widget is still visible for you, then this command won't happen. What will happen is hideSuggestWidget instead. First, and then the second time you try to press Control Space in normal mode, in my situation, then it will trigger this window. So it's like a nice little thing, so you don't have like a billion windows accidentally. And then also NeoVim mode isn't insert, so usually normal mode, sometimes visual mode, if for some reason that's the case. But once again, usually doesn't apply to most people that use VsCode, so I'm gonna delete that. If you do use NeoVim, good on you. I'm sure you can actually type that in yourself because you're better than everyone else. Okay, so we have quickFix to open that window, and naturally, as with everything else that we've had today, hiding it if it is visible. For some reason, and I'm not sure why they're separated like that, the when condition you can see is either actionWidgetVisible or codeActionMenuVisible. I'm not sure what's the difference. And I either only have ever seen one of them, or they're the same thing, or they're two things in one widget, and I'm honestly not sure. But you should do it this way because I think it's by default. And that's it. Now you can set whatever hotkeys that you want to this useful command, so you don't have to use your mouse to get to them, and overall like operate in an easier way, where you can just go up towards what is this? Oh, I see, and then you continue. Much nicer than having to move your hand around, but this is the NeoVim in me talking. I think it's useful even if you don't use it. And if you enjoyed this video, press a like, type some comment, maybe have a question or suggestion. Definitely subscribe so you don't miss my content, but most importantly, stay fresh, cheese bags, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye!